Own Backup protects against data loss and corruption by providing enterprise-level control of data across all your Salesforce orgs from a single dashboard. Interactive graphs make it easy to identify Salesforce data changes over time, and automated daily backups protect your Salesforce data, metadata, and attachments. Manage proactively with customizable smart alerts that notify you whenever data is added, changed, or deleted. Quickly search your entire backup archive to find specific records, remove records individually or in bulk, and stay compliant with internal and external regulations, including GDPR. Compare backups at the click of a button to locate the exact point at which data was lost or corrupted, and recover lost data quickly, regardless of scale. With Own Backup, you can restore data records with their corresponding parent-child relationships down to any level of granularity. Speed up development with Own Backup Sandbox Seeding and Replicate to create anonymized test data sets in minutes, while advanced key management and access controls help to keep your data secure. Backup, compare, recover, replicate, and comply with Own Backup for Salesforce.
We were just a bunch of nerdy kids who ignored the haters. We took their ridicule and we built on it. And when some of us gave up, well, we built on that too. Built resilience, built on a mission to make things a little better every day until the users came. Then the haters were VCs who scoffed at our audacity. This just isn't the way things are done. But we kept building. Users turned into teams, turned into companies, running their entire businesses on our apps. Then the software giants came after us. We weren't proven, we weren't fully featured, our radical cloud model wasn't secure. But we built on. And today, as companies adopt the cloud to move faster, teams are finding themselves slowed down by each other's efforts. The skeptics are claiming we'll never develop innovation at scale. But now, DevOps have come to the cloud, ushering in a new era of transformation. Companies can release on demand across hundreds of environments, innovating faster with fewer conflicts and fewer disruptions. There will always be challenges. There will always be naysayers. And we'll build on.
We're so excited to have all of you here for our next presentation, Migrating Aura to Lightning Web Components in a Few Steps with Fernando Sousa.
So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Fernando Sousa. I'm a Salesforce developer at Check21. I'm Lightning Champion since August 2019, and I'm programming since 10 years old. I started working with Salesforce in 2015, and my hobby is Salesforce. Yes, you heard right. My hobby is Salesforce. I publish Salesforce content in my blog and in my YouTube channel. And if you speak Portuguese, I'm glad to invite you to access soulforce.cloud is my blog. And there you have a lot of information about this. So let's jump to our agenda today. The idea is identify what we can migrate, how we can start, compatibility, hands-on, we will put some codes, and we will take a look about necessary tools to work with LWC and understand the difference between Aura and LWC. So first thing, unfortunately, it's not possible to migrate 100% of Aura components to Lightning Web components. The simple things that is not compatible today with LWC is overriding study buttons unlike create, add, and view buttons, list view actions, global actions, and custom actions. But one thing we can do is wrap this new Lightning Web component inside the Aura component and expose these components to using these actions. So how to start? Start from the small piece as possible. This, of course, is a sample. Let's imagine that we have components at the top, and these components have another component inside this one, and we have another component, some like for front, to, BCC, and subject, and then we have the email body. So let's imagine that email body will be the first component we will start to migrate. My tip for you is always start from the small piece and go up to all possible components you can migrate. And the reason for this is Aura support LWC, but LWC can't support Aura. So imagine that we have Aura component here, Aura component here, and Aura component here, but in the middle, we migrate this to LWC. It will be possible to use this approach. So we can use LWC inside the Aura, but not the reverse. So let's hands-on. The first thing I want to show you is a component I create to show this one. So let's edit this. Oops, sorry. And here we have to do manage Aura is a component, and I can change the title here. So tasks for today in Aura. This is a simple to-do list. I can click on add, new task for today, save it, and we have the task here. So the idea is migrate this component to LWC. So let's do this inside the VS Code. We have a lot of tools that we can work with the LWC, but the Salesforce recommend to use VS Code, and I will show you this inside the VS Code. So let's take a look from the beginning, our Apex class. So basically we have a method to get all tasks from today, a method to save the tasks and to delete the tasks. So this one will be able to insert or delete. If you have IDs, we will insert. Sorry, if you have IDs, we will update, otherwise we will insert this. And we have the annotation here already enabled to allow us call this from components. All this code will be available inside the GitHub, so feel free after this to take a look. Inside our components, we have two components. There is to do card Aura and to do manage Aura. The first one we will migrate will be the card and then the manager. And we have an event that's communication between the cards and the manager. So this one will not be necessary because the way the Lightning Web Components works, we don't need to create new events for this. So let's take a look at these components. When we create a new components Aura, we have the documentation, the HTML, that is a comp CMP file, CSS, design, image, and we will focus only in CMP, controller, and helper, okay? So basically we will migrate these three options, two JS and one HTML file. And the same for the manager. We have one HTML here, CSS file, and controller with helper. So let's do this. Start from the beginning. Some piece of code I will copy from my notes to here to take time because typing line by line will not be useful. I will just focus on important points here so you can look at this specifically part by part. So here inside the LWC with create Lightning Web Components, I will create my first one that will be to do card LWC. Take a look. I put this one uppercase, 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 and both lowercase. And we will understand why in a few minutes. I will keep this in the default folder. And here we have three files. The first one is HTML that we will move everything here to here. And we have the JavaScript file and meta XML. For this one, we'll not change anything here, so let's focus on both. HTML, the first thing we have here is a template file, a template tag. Template tag is something like a hidden for the Salesforce. So when you use template, this one will not become an element inside our HTML. But if you put something like div, this one will become a div inside the HTML. So this is something like an iframe. So first thing we need to do is copy everything here. So let me get everything here inside this Aura component. I will copy and paste here. This part was moved to JS file. So now it's responsibility to JS to know exactly what property we will show and we will enable in our components. So I will copy this one here to here. Let's put this in comments so you can focus on HTML. So what's changed here? First is our if. To our if, we have to use a template too. So you put templates, and instead of if, you have if true and if false. So first one is true, and we will change up some things like this one. Start with uppercase, subject start with uppercase. We'll change this to lowercase. So the first change we have is every time you reference something from backend, to JS, we don't need to use double quotes anymore and exclamation mark v dot anymore. So we just need to put edit mode here inside the template, and we will get this one and move to here. So let me put here. I think it will be better for who's watching. So first change, the column, we will change this to dash. So here is the same thing. We need to replace this to subject. The event, the same thing. Remove double quotes, remove exclamation C and dot. Lightning button, the same thing. We will remove the comma and change it to dash. What else we need to change? First, we can't use just slash here to close the component. You need to put the full way to close the component. So we will change this. And here, you need to change the way we call event. Remove the double quotes and the C dot. That's it for this part. Now we have another condition that is else, but we will change this to something like template if false. So if it's true, we will show this one. If it's false, we will show this one. So let's move this one to here and do the same thing. So we can remove this, and here title, we change this to subject. Here's another thing that changed inside the components. So let me just change this one. Instead of use our set, now we need to put some div, and instead of attribute, we put this slot. So slot is the way we can put components inside the components. So Lightning Card allows us to put components in some piece, and this piece is actions that we show at the right top any components we want to put there. So we change this, the same thing. I will put just change this to dash. Another thing, remember I said that we would change this to small, to lowercase. That's the reason. Inside the LWC, every time some property start with uppercase, this will be changed to dash and lowercase. So we need to change every time we have something like this. So we change here. And here's the same thing we do here. Just remove the double quotes and the exclamation C dot. Everything else is the same. And we are done with our components inside HTML. Remember this one? So let's do this. The first, this allows us to send parameters to our components. So to do this inside the LWC, you need to put at API. And when you do this and press enter, this is automatically imported here. If you don't put this one here, when we use annotations API, we will get an error. So be sure that you put this one here. So we change task ID to lowercase, the first one, task ID. We don't need to put the type anymore because JavaScript and JavaScript don't need the types. So subject and edit mode. So this one, temp subject, is only used inside our own properties, own documents. How you can see here, it's a private. So we just need to put temp subject here. This is the events. We will change this, the way we listening for the events inside our components. So we will change this. We don't need to put this to fire an event. We will fire this in a different way. Our init handler is here when we want to do something every time our component is started. So this one change to thing a little bit easy. We just need to put connected callback and our code inside this one. Don't need to declare this anymore. So basically what you do here. So I will copy some parts of this code, should be really quickly. But basically, this one is the start. When we start, we copy the subject, we send to parameter to this temp subject. When we change something, basically when we leave this, where are you? This one, the text area, we will copy the value we receive from events, current target, value to temp. We have two buttons. One is to cancel, another one is to save. So we have here cancel and save. So when I cancel, I just back to the beginning, the subject temp, and change the edit mode to false. This one will be changed between this view and this view. If the card is in edit mode, I will show the text area. Otherwise, I will just show the cards with the options to add and delete this card. So here when we save, we call this method. We will create and send the action save, task ID received by parameters, and the temp subject that we get after the user types something. Edit mode is basically when the user click and edit. We set this to true. And delete, when the user wants to delete something, we will send the events to delete. So let's do these events. Let me copy here. So we have the action. You have the task ID and the subject. So basically what we have here is disable edit mode, because if the user hits here, something is finished, or they want to delete, or they want to save. And so I can say that we are not in edit mode anymore. And to fire our events, let me show the way we do inside the Aura to the new way. Let me put this side by side. So this is the way we send the event from the child to the parents, but inside of WC, this is more simple. We need to create a variable here. I will call this new custom event. And I need to say some name for this. I will call this to-do event click. And here we need to pass some informations. So is the tail. The tail is the way we send any information we want. Some like here we have set parameters. We use the tail for do this. This is a JSON file, the same format. So we can put here actions will be received action. I can use this way or this way, doesn't matter, but I like this. So let's continue with this. So another one is task ID. I put the same task ID and subject to subject. Basically, I'm sending these informations to the tail and I will get this information in the parent. And how is the way we can fire our events? Here in LWC, we call this one dispatch events and send this variable. And that's it. We basically migrate our controller and our helper in one file and our HTML to new HTML file. So let's send this to Salesforce. Okay. Now we'll create a new component. This one will be to-do manager LWC. The standard folder, and we have the same thing, HTML, JS, and meta XML. We will change this one a little bit, so let's start with this. The same approach, we will get the SMP, copy everything, and put here. This one we will move to JS, so I'll cut here and put here. And let's start. Here basically is the same thing. We need to change the comma to dash, remove, and change this to lowercase. This one become a div with a slot option. Need to change this, and here we need to change to lowercase, remove double quotes, lowercase, and that's it. So we have a template here to validate if something is true. So if it's true, here we change the same thing to a small case, to lowercase. And we will move this. Actually, we will not move. Our interaction, we use the template. And here we have for each. And we need to specify the variable that will be our list that will interact between all records. And for var, this become for item, and we will use the same name. Inside this one, you need to call the C LWC. So take a look of this. If we change this one to uppercase, we need to put something like this. So that's the reason I put just the first letter with uppercase, okay? So let me close this and comment this. I can use the autocomplete here. The first thing we need to specify here is the key. The key for loop identify which element needs to be updated. So I will put ID that is unique inside my list. Another thing I need to put is task ID. So remember, we changed this to lowercase. That's the reason. If this starts with uppercase, I need to put something like this. So instead of this, we change the first letter to lowercase. So this one is test.id. And why this one is uppercase? Because it's exactly the way we bring this from Salesforce. So if you have some custom fields, you put some like this one here. Another one is edit mode. So task.edit mode. And subject. Will be subject. And that's it. Inside here, you need to put the title. This is an API. Remember, I always put this one here to import. Lowercase. And tasks. Tasks will be another annotation that is track. Tracks means every time I change these properties, this needs to be reflected here. So I'll put our tasks here. And the last one, instead of use a property, we use a method called get. So I put get has tasks, and then I will return if this dot tasks exists and this dot tasks dot length is where is my greater than 0. So take a look. Here inside our components, we always need to put this dot to get this context. So every time I put this here, this means I'm using inside these components. And I need to check this one first, because if this one is null, we will get an exception when we try to get the length. So we migrate this one, and this one. Here we have an init. We will use the same approach to use another one. Just call connected callback. And then we will call a new method, load data. We will create this in a few minutes. So let's put this one here. And here is one listener that will create every time some components, some user click in the add or delete here in the card. So basically when you click here to edit, this one go to the parent and the parent change the tasks should be able to change here. Okay, so how we can do that? Basically, who will fire this event is this component. So we need to put here the name we will set here. So to do event click. Oh, I forgot one O here. Let me send it again. And here we put the same name, but with start on like on click. Okay, and then call the method. What is the method? Is this one, and that's it. Now we are able to listen everything this component is sent to the parent. Here I will do the same thing. I will copy the piece of code and focus just in import things. Let me close this one. And I will explain in detail all this. So this one is when the user click here to add a new task. This one is here. And this one called this method that get the list, put a new element at the top of this list, and send this to the proper task. There is a track that will detect something was changed and update the screen. So why I'm doing this instead of just doing something like this? Because sometimes we are not able, the LWC is not able to detect this was changed. So that is the best approach. Copy your value, change this, and set this again. Okay. So here is, we're getting this information we send from the child to the parent, and that's the way we get events, detail, action, task ID, and subject. So everything you send inside the detail, we are able to get here. So here we check if we are trying to save, we will call this one. If you're trying to delete, we will call this one. So before creating this method, we need to import something here that will be able to communicate between components and our Apex class. That is right here. So basically we will call these three methods. So how I import this? Remember, if you will look here inside the Aura, we need to do this here. Controller equals the controller name. And this gives us the ability to just use one controller per component. But here we are able to use many of them. So I will say get data from Salesforce get tasks. And I will import the same for save tasks from save task and import delete task from delete tasks. Why this is another color? Because we don't use this yet. So let's use this right now. First thing is loading, right? So this one's not this, but this get data. I don't need to send any parameters here. So this one will return for us a promise inside the JavaScript. So basically we have then results. When we get something, I will do this dot tasks equals to result. Okay, and then I have errors that I can try to catch and say to the user what they need to do. So here I will just put this one in console and put a challenge to you. Show the user a toast with this error. When some error occurs, you can show a user toast. Now we have the save task and the delete task. To delete, we just need the task ID. To save, we need task ID and subject, right? We send here. So let's create this one. I do the same thing. I will copy and paste, and I will explain. So basically, this one is calling this one that we import. Why I forgot here. And sends by parameters the ID. This parameter is the same we put here in our class, okay? So I'm sending the ID, that is my task ID, and subject, that is my subject. I just printing the result in the console so we can see what happened when we save. And after save, I'm loading everything and showing the components again. And when we delete return for us true or false. We can delete, we return true, otherwise we throw no exception. So if it's true, we will reload the screen, otherwise we will show the message in the console. But the challenge here too for you should just say that we have something wrong, okay? So just more 4 minutes there.
You got it.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So let's copy here. The last thing we need to change is our metadata. To expose our components, we need to put this one, is exposes equals to true. And we need to say when we want to show our components. So let me copy here and paste. We need to put targets, and for each targets, we need to put a new line. So basically I'm saying I want to show these components inside the home page, record page, and app page. And when the user drags this to the screen, I want the user be able to change the title. So basically we need to put some tag config and say this config will be able to change the title and is enabled in home page, record page, and app page. Let me send this component. And that's back here. So let me edit this one. And this one is the new component. Let me draw this one here and put this some like tasks from today from our L.C. Back. Now you have two components. Let me create a new one here. Oh, I forgot one thing, but okay, I can show you. That's 2. Save, and here we are. Of course, this one will not change the aura. I need to refresh the screen, but the idea here is not keep both, but migrate from this one to this one, right? So what I forgot is the CSS. CSS is not by standard here. We need to create this manually. So basically, new file, sudo manager.lwc.css. Now let's copy this one from here to here. And what is the difference? The difference inside the CSS, we don't need these anymore. So that's the difference. Let me do the same thing for this one. I just copy this, and inside the card, I create a new file to do car. I forgot the letter D here. lwc.css, and remove all this. Done. Let's see right now. Let me refresh this. And here you are, the same look and feel. Okay, so that's the idea. Here's some links that is useful for you. All codes will be available here, my GitHub. Here's the link to download the VS Code, Node.js, Salesforce CLI that I'm using to send the code to Salesforce, and extension packs that have everything you need to work with Salesforce inside the VS Code. So basically, you need to understand the structure between both. You need to understand that XML, meta XML is very important inside LWC, and when you use API track and write. And remember, our set change to slots, and our design, you need to put this inside the XML target configs. So let's do a survey. first question for you. Could I put Aura components inside the Lightning Web components? Let me see the chat. Where is my chat? Here. No, no, no. Exactly, no. Only Lightning Web components can be placed inside the Aura. Another one. Is it possible to use Developer Console to create my own Lightning Web components? No, 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 no. We need external tools, and Salesforce recommend, of course, VS Code. What is the best way to start the migration? A, start the migration from the principal components, from the Visual Force, or from the small piece of components. Oh, very good. Letter C. Let's start from the small always. How many Apex controller can I call from the Lightning Web components? Many, 3, or like our component, just 1? Many, 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 many. Hey, very good, guys. Everybody on the same page.
Wonderful. Thank you, Fernando. Awesome session. There are a couple of questions that came through. I know we're at time, but Fernando, if you have a few minutes, we'd love to get you to answer those. So the first question, can we deploy the Lightning Web component to a standalone app?
Can we deploy a Lightning Web component standalone app?
And Siva, if you are still on, maybe you could clarify.
Let me see here. Oh, now I see the questions here. Yeah, if we can change the page, we can add to the page. Every page we can edit here in edit page, we can put some components there, right? So if you create your own component, you'll be able to edit and change the components there. Awesome. Should we go for connected callback and call Apex imperative in right? Yes, we can do it both. I can't explain here about why, but the idea is when you use this, the Lightning Web component will be able to call this for us automatically. We don't need to type to say, hey, call this for me. And in this case, I not lose this because I don't want to use the cache. So to use our write, we need to open our class and put here some like cacheable, where is it? Cacheable equals true. I don't know, it's cacheable, true. So we are able to call this using write, but in this case, I want to reload every time I save, every time I delete. So that's the reason I follow this approach. I know that is not the best app forever, but the idea here is show the difference between Aura and LWC. What more? How can I handle the event on grandparent component instead of parent? So basically, what you need, we will send this by parameter, right? You have in your child, you will have something like API, and in the main components, you send this like this. Okay. Oh, I'm on Twitter. Here. Let me show my first screen. Here you are. E. Fernando Souza. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Anything else? Why can't we have cacheable equals true for the mail functions? Oh, is a good question, but I think the idea is when you put this, is have a cache, and for insert and delete, we don't want any cache. So I think that's the idea. Can Fernando put the git link? Yes, I will send the link. Let me copy this on the chat. The link is on the chat. Anything more? When you use UI, so I use this a lot. So let's suppose we have an option here to give the user the ability to type something and find in all these cards. So that's the reason you can use the UI and use the cacheable. So if someone find for some like test, and this bring 2 records, and then they change the search for today, they will bring 1 more, and then they go back there and type again test. We will not send the new call to the backend because the result is already in cache, and that's the idea. Every time you don't want your components go to the backend to bring the informations you bring before, you can use this. What's the error service executing? They execute this twice when your component is loaded, and if you send some parameters every time your proper change. So let's suppose we have something here, a track, let's put something search, and we use this proper to send to the backend. Every time this proper change, this will be fired automatically. You don't need to do this. I have always run right error from the mail. Yes, because yeah, we can use URL for the ML. You need to do exactly the way I do this. Okay. Just for get, for save, or for delete. If you use URL for this, you get errors. Or you can't insert, update, or delete. Which is better, right? Or a simple Apex call? I think it depends. If I said, if you are searching something, probably the better way you use right. But if you are insert delete, you never can use. So depends what we're building, and some situation is different than another. Or how can I handle the events at a component which is not directory? Okay, that is a complicated event. So when we have 2 components, let's suppose like this, and both is not one inside another, we need to use some approach that Salesforce call pub sub. So this is the same idea with the application event inside the Aura. So basically we say this one is listening for this event and this one is sending these events. So you need to put extra JS files, create a new component, and import these components in both, and then use this communication. So find for Aura pub sub. You will be able to communication between both LWC and Aura, and between 2 components inside the LWC. How much faster? I think is really, really faster. That's the big reason to start migrating right now. Summer 20 has better dynamic form. Yes. Can this be built with the, I don't know. I don't have this answer for you.
All right. Well, Fernando, thank you so much. Awesome questions and great discussion as well. Appreciate your time.